People live in houses, not corporations. The president just came out and said that he's going to be banning institutional investors from purchasing new homes. So I want to go through two scenarios because we don't know exactly what the plan is or what could happen. So plan A, if they're just simply banning them from continuing to purchase, in my opinion, this is going to let prices continue to rise on the sales side and also on the rents as well. And this is obviously market depending. There will still be price declines in some areas in Florida due to increasing cost of insurance, especially those who are in flood zones. But so to add a little more context to that, if prices go up, then why that would be is because the builders are already slowing down and their new issuance are actually at recessionary levels. So they're not actually building more homes to put onto the market. Now, here in Florida, we have plenty of inventory. There is no lack of inventory of new construction here going, but there are builders like KB Homes who are actually going to start changing from spec home building to build to order, so that way they can increase their profit margins on the build. And I'm assuming that the rest of the industry will probably do the same because the builders are not here for charity; they are here to make money, and so that's part of the game. Now, why rents would go up was because there's going to be less inventory coming to the market for rent if institutional investors are not coming in, fixing and repairing those homes. Now, if an institutional investor is any company that owns 1,000 houses or more. So the small-time investors, they're still going to be able to have access to these homes to also fix, flip, and also rent as well. So there will still be majority of that will still continue to help bring inventory onto the market. But overall, rents should decline. Now, prices could continue increasing in some areas due to the fact that if rental houses start to decrease in inventory in those neighborhoods, typically what happens is rentals are not taken care of as well aesthetically on the outside, on the inside, compared to somebody who owns their home. So we have less renters coming into those areas, and the houses are becoming more appealing. Prices could rise then, and also as inventory is not coming onto the market as much as there would be. There will be, like new construction as well. Now, what could bring prices down would be if they're forced to sell these homes. So from what I was listening to some housing analysts, markets like Orlando, Tampa, these institutional investors own about 17 to 18% of units that are available to rent. Now, that doesn't include single family altogether. That is just in their residential and commercial altogether combined. And so it'll be less than that. With some cities, it's like 1 to 2% when single family houses are considered. Also, as well as the amount of housing stock that is available to rent currently, or to buy currently. So these are just a couple of things that could adjust prices in the future. Will they be forced to sell? I don't think so. I really don't think that that's going to happen. I did listen to a speech with Trump that he does not want for prices to come down because he doesn't want people who have been owning homes to lose equity in their houses. So, that is something that I don't think he actually wants prices to come down. Ultimately, I do think he does wants to probably some stability in the market. Now, I just want you to, for disclosure, I don't have any bias in the market. I'm about economics only. I don't care which party's in control of what position and what branch of the government, because there's opportunity to grow and expand, and no matter who is in office, it's just knowing how to play the game that we are playing. So, it just goes back to economics 101. If demand is pulled out of the system, which obviously is a 1%, Blackstone, not BlackRock, Blackstone, there are two different companies, but BlackRock is not the company at hand. So it's Blackstone and companies like Vanguard. All these institutional investors own about 1% of all the housing of the market. Most of the majority of the market is owned by mom and pop investors. This isn't going to have too much of an effect on the market. And again, every market is going to be different because if there's more of a share that institutional investors do have ownership in those markets, and they are forced to sell, one market is going to react different from another, and that could be down to the zip code or the subdivision because real estate is hyper local. So these are just a few factors that are coming into play. Like I said, if demand is coming out, which isn't too much, it's not going to incentivize builders to rent build communities, because those have been a popular thing. So if they're no longer able to purchase those communities, that will give the smaller time investor more opportunity to purchase those. And sometimes they buy 2-3 at a time with a couple price reductions, so long as they don't sell. But every situation can be a little bit different. So we'll see what happens in the future. It really just depends on what regulations they put. But if they're not forced to sell, I do expect prices to continue to rise nationally, as at least not as much as before. Obviously, this year has had a very small gain nationally, and in markets in Florida, just depending on where you're at, prices have gone either up or down. But if we're pulling institutional investors away from the market, demand is going to come down, and less new permit issuance is going to be taken, and that means less demand for homes. Which, unfortunately, if there's less houses being constructed, then that means less jobs in the new construction sector of the market, and then also for resale. Resale is going to continue to drive prices down as they're competing against new construction, especially on the insurance market. So really, the only benefit really as of right now, especially if you're in a flood zone, is location. If location is going to be everything when it comes to resale versus new construction, when the builders are providing incentives. And I don't think the demand is already coming back. Like, new construction houses have been sitting on the market for a while now, and so they're not going to have the motivation to continue building, and price reductions and more incentives can come out. So there's a lot of people saying that there's buyers on the sideline there's a lot of buyers on the sideline right now, which is true. But the problem is that there's not prices or interest there's not prices right now currently that they can afford, unless it's an entry level 3-bed 2-bath, and those typically range, again, depending on your location, anywhere from the high $200,000s to the low $300,000 mark, and then sometimes even in the $400,000 mark, again, depending on where you're at. But at least here in the Tampa Bay area, some areas are either going to be in the high 3s or the low 4s for a 3-2 new construction, and that inventory isn't being absorbed, and that is including with the builders paying for rate buy downs, paying for the lot, paying for closing costs, and also offering other incentives. So if buyers that are on the sideline wanted to purchase, they would be purchasing, and they're not purchasing yet. Now that can obviously change because people's life conditions can change. People go through divorce, they go through having family formation, so they're having babies, and that could drive more buyers into the market. But if things remain constant, which as time goes on, less people are actually having kids because the cost of living is so much. So I don't expect that to be too much. But yeah, so this is just a few different ways of how housing prices can go. We'll see in the future what will actually happen to see where prices will go. But this will have just a little effect on the market, either going up or down. If they're forced to sell, it's definitely going to take a huge impact, and prices will come down as more inventory comes onto the market, and go from there, which will give buyers more options, and with what time, depending on who's forced to sell because of possibly relocation as well. There's people who are selling their houses because their jobs are forcing them to come back to work in a different state. So that's also another variable to play in, and many other economic factors at play. So I hope you found this educational. Leave your comments down below and let me know what you think. I'm here interested to hear your opinion on what could possibly happen with this. And I hope you found this a source of value. If you did, hit the like button, subscribe, and follow me if you're on any other socials that I might be on. And I hope you guys have a beautiful day. Take care.